Hello learners, in this session we will discuss about the important vocabularies we should use in the writing part 1. As we know, we get different categories of the questions in the writing part 1 academic, like we get table, graph, line graph, pie chart, or we may get the diagram. So these categories of the question, how we should deal with, we should use some important vocabularies which we are going to discuss now. So the starting part of the introduction, which is introduction part, how you should start your graph pie chart. I have mentioned some points here. Like we have a subject, the graph. If you have a graph, you will start with the graph, bar chart, diagram, table, figure, anything that is. Then you have to use the verbs. Verbs are like shows, represents, gives information, gives data, illustrates, compares. Then these are the time scales. You'll be getting up a time scale in the question itself, but make sure you do not have to repeat the same question in the introduction part. Use synonyms to convert the words, and important years which you get in the question you can write down between 2000 and 2005, over a 5-year period, during 5 years from 2002 to 2005. Anything you can write down. So how your new introduction will become like this. If there is a graph, you can say the given graph shows the fluctuation of whatever the topic that you're getting up. In that case, you have to carry on. If there is a bar chart, you can say the given bar chart gives information about anything that the topic that you're getting up. Then you have the table. If there is a table, you can say that the given table gives data about the immigration which is going on in UK from India and China in the respective years 2000 and 2005. So anything you can use. This is very important to use. And if there is a comparison between two pie charts, you can say the given two pie charts shows the difference in the salaries of the teachers from 1995 to 1998, whatever the year that you're getting up. Now you will see some important trends in the graph when the graph is going up, or sometime you will see that the graph is going down or straight. So which vocab we should use for these trends I have mentioned here. If the graph is going up, for the up we can use a rise, we can say increase, we can say climb, surge, soared, rocket. Make sure guys, it depends on the time period. If they are talking about the past, so please use the past form. Like for example, if they have mentioned about 1984, so you can say however the price of the petrol that soared up to 80% in 1984. So ed form, we have to use the past form of that. If the graph is going down, so you can say fall. Number 2, decline, dip, dropped, plummet, plunge, dive, slump. Any of the word that you can use, but make sure past tense again. If sometime there is a possibility that the graph is going straight when there is no change, so at that time you can simply say remained stable. However, the price of the petrol remained stable in 1984, and then you can say remained constant or steady. Any of the line you can use there. You can also use some phrases in the writing part 1. I have mentioned phrases here. The first, if there is an upward trend, if the graph is going up, you can use to show an upward trend. However, the graph shows the upward trend like this. If there is a downward, you can say to show a downward trend. To hit the highest point, if there is going to the highest point, you can say to hit the highest point. To show some fluctuation, sometimes the graph is going like this. At that time, up and down, you can say to show some fluctuations. To remain unchanged, if there is no change, then to flatten out, to remain static. These are the phrases you can use in the writing part 1. As an adverb, if you want to use as an adverb, you can simply say sharply, suddenly, rapidly, abruptly, significantly. However, there was a significant rise in the number of population of China and India. This is the example. Slightly and gradually. So you can use any of the vocabularies to make your writing part 1 effective. There are some changes you will see in the graph where you have to use a particular vocabulary. So I have mentioned here some vocabularies for you. If there is a great change in the graph, you can simply use as adjective and as adverbs. So if you are using as adjective, you can simply say overwhelming, and if you are using as adverbs, you can say overwhelmingly. Then we have substantial. There is a substantial increment in the number of children, or you can say substantially as an adverb. You can say enormous and enormously. So any of the vocab you can use for the great change. Now if there is a medium change, so for the medium change you can use this vocab because somewhat, moderate, and as an adverbs you can say moderately. If there is a minor change, you can see a minor change in the graph, so you can simply say a fractional change, or here as adverbs you can say fractionally. Marginal, marginally as adverbs, and as a adjective you can say slight and slightly. So any of the vocab you can use for the changes. Now in these you will sometime get a different kinds of fractions which you have to take care of. If there can be a proportion of 4%, 10%, 20%, 30%, 50%. So which vocabularies you should use while indicating these proportions I have mentioned in this video. So here you can see a fraction 4%. So you can see a tiny fraction can be seen there. So this is a very good way of saying 24% will be almost a quarter, because 25% will be a quarter. 25% you can say exactly 1/4. 32% will be nearly 1/3. 51% if there is just over a half, because that's more than 50%. 89% will be a very large proportion. So if there is 89%, you can say a very large proportion of that thing can be seen. Now there are some approximation value which you have to indicate. You can see approximately, you can say nearly, roughly, about, just under, just below. These words matters too much while writing the writing part 1.